Welcome to a journey where the beauty of nature meets the intimacy of design. In a Japanese container garden, even the smallest pot becomes a world of its own. Here, size is never a limit, only an invitation to focus. Small garden pots hold moss, pebbles, and a single blooming iris, creating a miniature landscape that radiates zen and tight space. Today, we'll explore how containers can hold not just plants, but peace. In the quiet corner of a balcony, a glazed ceramic pot rests. Its deep indigo glaze mirrors the evening sky. Inside, a Japanese container garden comes to life. Delicate ferns arch over smooth river stones. The design respects both plant and vessel, letting each breathe. Small garden pots like this prove that zen and tight space is not only possible, it's an art form you can create with your own hands. Imagine walking into your backyard and finding an arrangement of small garden pots, each telling its own story. A shallow clay dish holds rippling water with a single lotus leaf. Nearby, a Japanese container garden thrives with miniature pines and moss. The harmony of textures, shapes, and shades creates zen and tight space, where every glance slows your heartbeat. Nature is contained, yet infinite in these delicate designs. The elegance of a Japanese container garden lies in restraint. Instead of crowding a pot with many plants, you let one or two breathe. A slender bamboo shoot rises from a bed of white gravel, its reflection captured in a polished black container. In small garden pots, space around the plant is just as important as the plant itself. This is the secret to cultivating zen and tight space. Soft morning light spills over a row of weathered terracotta pots. Each holds a different scene, one a cascade of trailing ivy, another a perfectly trimmed dwarf maple. A Japanese container garden thrives here. Even on a narrow windowsill, the small garden pots, warmed by the sun, exude quiet charm. Together, they form a living tapestry, proving that zen and tight space blooms wherever intention meets design. Not all beauty comes from flowers. A Japanese container garden often celebrates leaves, bark, and stone. A single hosta unfurls in a shallow bronze basin, its glossy leaves contrasting with the rough pottery. Small garden pots like this are lessons in balance, where texture plays the role of color, the composition breathes, bringing zen and tight space without demanding attention, yet always rewarding those who notice. Water brings movement to even the smallest pot. A glazed bowl holds a miniature water garden. Tiny fish dart beneath floating duckweed. This Japanese container garden turns a tabletop into a tranquil pond. Small garden pots can hold ripples, reflections, and life itself. The soft gurgle of a hidden pump creates zen and tight space, blending sound, sight, and touch into one meditative experience. A Japanese container garden is as much about the vessel as the plant. A tall, slender pot elongates the form of a spindly pine. A low, wide bowl emphasizes the spread of moss and stone. In small garden pots, choosing the right container is an act of harmony. Each combination whispers zen and tight space, reminding us that form and function are partners, never rivals. Sometimes, the most powerful Japanese container garden is a single plant in a single pot. A white porcelain vessel cradles a lone orchid, its petals like brush strokes on air. The emptiness around it is not lack, it's space for the soul to breathe. Small garden pots like this prove that zen and tight space thrives when we resist the urge to fill every corner. On a shaded porch, an assortment of small garden pots rests on a wooden bench. One holds a cluster of moss, another a curled fern, and another a flat stone with lichen. This Japanese container garden feels like a forest condensed into a meter of space. The composition brings zen and tight space, inviting you to lean in, notice the details, and lose track of time. A Japanese container garden can transform a simple pathway. Along a stone walkway, small garden pots are placed at intervals, each holding a seasonal treasure. A camellia in winter, a maple in fall. This rhythm of changing displays keeps the scene alive. The pots become punctuation marks in a visual sentence, offering moments of zen and tight space as you walk from one to the next. Even the humblest clay pot has potential when placed with intention. A weathered moss-covered vessel sits in a corner, holding a dwarf pine, whose branches bend gracefully. This Japanese container garden thrives in quiet shadow. Small garden pots like this show that zen. In tight space doesn't require perfection, only the patience to let nature and time do their work together. A balcony railing lined with rectangular troughs becomes a stage for cascading plants. In this Japanese container garden, trailing ivy drapes downward, while the bright grasses sway gently. The interplay of vertical and horizontal movement turns small garden pots into living sculpture. Each arrangement captures zen and tight space, creating a private retreat high above the city streets. In the heart of the city, a rooftop can be a sanctuary. A Japanese container garden thrives here, sheltered from wind by bamboo screens. Large ceramic jars and small garden pots combine to form a layered composition. Moss softens the edges, while miniature pines frame the view. Even here, among steel and glass, zen and tight space blooms quietly under the open sky. A small table on a veranda becomes an altar to beauty. A shallow dish holds rippled sand, a polished black stone, and a single sprig of pine. This Japanese container garden is a meditation in miniature. Small garden pots like this embody the essence of zen and tight space, offering a complete, balanced world you can hold in your hands, yet dream within 4 hours. In autumn, leaves drift into the open mouth of a tall stone pot. Inside, a Japanese container garden of moss and river rock receives them like gifts. The small garden pots change with the season. Without effort, Zen and tight space means letting nature contribute to the design, accepting each fallen leaf as a perfect, fleeting decoration. A narrow entryway is often overlooked, but in Japanese design, every space holds potential. Here, 3 small garden pots stand in a neat row, each holding a different shade of green. This Japanese container garden welcomes visitors. Before a word is spoken, it brings Zen and tight space, setting the tone for calm the moment one steps inside. On a windowsill, morning light filters through steam from a teacup. Beside it sits a Japanese container garden, a moss ball nestled in a simple dish. Small garden pots like this invite you to notice the tiny textures, the way dew glistens, the way roots curve beneath the surface. Zen and tight space is about presence, and this scene is nothing but presence. Not all containers are traditional. A hollowed-out stone becomes the home for a Japanese container garden of sedge and creeping thyme. The rugged texture contrasts with the softness of the plants. Small garden pots, whether clay, wood, or stone, each bring their own character. Together, they weave Zen and tight space into every surface, every corner, every breath. A Japanese container garden can also be a focal point for gatherings. On a low table, a wide ceramic basin holds sand, driftwood, and a sprig of flowering quince. Guests lean in to admire the details. Small garden pots like this create conversation and connection, all while holding the stillness of Zen and tight space. Imagine a rainy afternoon. Drops gather on the leaves of a dwarf maple, growing in a round pot outside your door. This Japanese container garden, sheltered yet touched by rain, glows under gray skies. Small garden pots often hold their most poetic beauty in such quiet moments. Zen and tight space finds its voice in the gentle rhythm of rain. A set of wooden steps becomes a tiered gallery for potted plants. Each level holds a different scene: ferns in the shade, succulents in the sun. This Japanese container garden uses height and perspective to make small garden pots feel abundant. Zen and tight space is achieved not by adding more, but by arranging with care. In winter, evergreens take center stage. A Japanese container garden with a small pine in a deep blue pot becomes a beacon of life against bare surroundings. Small garden pots like this carry warmth and color through the coldest months. Zen in tight space is the comfort of knowing something endures, no matter the season. A tiny stone lantern sits beside a rectangular pot filled with moss and creeping ground cover. This Japanese container garden captures the mood of a temple courtyard in miniature. Small garden pots can transport you to another place entirely. Zen and tight space is not just about saving room, it's about expanding the soul within that room. On an outdoor shelf, mismatched small garden pots come together in harmony, glazed, unglazed, tall, shallow, each holds its own Japanese container garden. The variety becomes unity through careful placement. Zen and tight space means knowing that differences can coexist, each enhancing the others. Sometimes, the container is the story. A cracked ceramic vessel repaired with gold and lacquer in the kintsugi tradition becomes the setting for a Japanese container garden of white pebbles and green moss. Small garden pots, like people, carry history in their imperfections. Zen in tight space embraces this truth, turning flaws into beauty. A Japanese container garden can live indoors as easily as out. In a sunlit corner of a living room, a tall pot holds bamboo that brushes the ceiling. Small garden pots on a windowsill echo the theme, each a tiny reflection of the larger scene. Zen, in tight space means bringing the outside in until the boundary disappears. A small water basin carved from basalt holds floating camellia blossoms. This Japanese container garden rests beside a doorway, offering a daily greeting. Small garden pots with water invite reflection, literally and figuratively. Zen in tight space often begins with a moment of stillness beside water, even if only a few inches deep. A cluster of 3 pots on a patio tells a story of time. One holds a young maple, another a blooming azalea, and the last a mound of moss. This Japanese container garden captures spring, summer, and timelessness all at once. Small garden pots allow you to curate the seasons, weaving Zen in tight space throughout the year. A low, wide bonsai pot displays a windswept juniper. The branches twist with deliberate grace, shaped by years of care. In this Japanese container garden, the pot is a stage, and the plant the performer. Small garden pots like this remind us, Zen in tight space is patience, devotion, and quiet observation. At the corner of a garden bench sits a narrow-necked jar. Its glaze aids to a soft patina inside. A Japanese container garden of bamboo and pebbles leans toward the sun. Small garden pots like this feel like secrets waiting to be found. Zen in tight space is about discovery, pausing, noticing, appreciating what might otherwise be missed. A courtyard fountain is surrounded by a ring of small garden pots, each brimming with moss and low ferns. Together, they form a living frame for the water's gentle movement. This Japanese container garden uses repetition to create rhythm. Zen and tight space comes alive when each pot adds to harmony, like instruments playing in time. On a rainy evening, the glaze of ceramic pots glistens under lantern light. A Japanese container garden of miniature pines and camellias stands out against wet stones. Small garden pots become luminous jewels. In such moments, Zen and tight space often reveals itself, most vividly when nature and light dance together. Sometimes, the best container is no container at all. A Japanese container garden can grow in a hollowed-out tree stump, blending plant and vessel into one. Small garden pots in this style feel timeless, as if they've always belonged. Zen and tight space thrives when we let nature decide the boundaries. A low shelf under a pergola holds 3 oval pots. One has raked gravel, one a single maple sapling, and one smooth river stones. This Japanese container garden is a study in contrast. Small garden pots like this prove Zen and tight space is not about filling space, it's about giving space meaning. Spring cherry blossom petals drift into a shallow basin planted with moss. This Japanese container garden wears the season like a soft shawl. Small garden pots beneath a blooming tree become canvases for nature's fleeting art. Zen entire space is made richer by the seasons. Touch even if it lasts only a day. An old wooden crate is repurposed to hold 3 mismatched small garden pots. One pot with a dwarf conifer, another creeping thyme, the third white gravel. This Japanese container garden blends rustic charm with intentional design. Zen in tight space often comes from seeing potential where others see only limitations. A tiny ceramic pot holds a kokedama, a moss ball with a young fern sprouting from it. Suspended from a string, it turns gently in the breeze. This Japanese container garden redefines the boundaries of planting. Small garden pots, even when hanging, create zen and tight space, turning air itself into design. Along the edge of a veranda, rectangular planters alternate between flowering plants and bare raked sand. This Japanese container garden uses emptiness as much as fullness. Small garden pots like this remind us Zen in tight space often relies on the spaces between, where the eye can rest and the mind can breathe. A small ceramic teacup holds a sprig of moss placed beside a reading chair. This Japanese container garden may be no larger than your palm, yet it changes the mood of the room. Small garden pots, even at this scale, carry zen and tight space, proof that beauty and serenity require no more than a cup's worth of space. On a narrow balcony railing, oval pots overflow with windowsill, their fragrance drifting into the home. This Japanese container garden transforms the smallest outdoor strip into a sensory escape. Small garden pots, aligned like notes on a musical staff, create a melody of scent and sight. Zen, in tight space, engages all the senses. A deep bronzer stands beside a door, holding a dwarf maple whose leaves glow red in autumn. This Japanese container garden is a living welcome sign. Small garden pots like this turn entryways into experiences. Zen in tight space begins before you even step inside with a quiet invitation from nature. Beside a stone water basin, a cluster of ceramic pots hold sedges and moss. This Japanese container garden mirrors the textures of the surrounding landscape. Small garden pots help blend human-made design with nature's forms, creating zen in tight space, where boundaries fade away. On a kitchen windowsill, a set of 3 small garden pots contains herbs, shiso, chives, and mint. This Japanese container garden feeds both body and spirit. Zen in tight space is practical and beautiful, offering flavor for your meals and calm for your mind in the same small footprint. A bamboo shelf displays small garden pots of varying heights, each holding a seasonal plant. In summer, irises; in winter, pines. This Japanese container garden changes with the calendar. Zen in tight space stays fresh when the arrangement evolves with the seasons, inviting you to notice subtle changes over time. In the corner of a meditation room, a square pot holds a simple arrangement of gravel, driftwood, and a single fern. This Japanese container garden speaks softly. Small garden pots like this embody Zen and tight space by removing excess, leaving only what feels essential and true. A weathered stone bowl rests in the shade, filled with smooth black pebbles and white sand. This Japanese container garden uses monochrome to create focus. Small garden pots don't always need color. Zen and tight space can be found in the quiet conversation between light and shadow. Along the edge of a garden path, an assortment of mismatched pots rests casually, as if they wandered there themselves. This Japanese container garden feels effortless, though each pot is placed with care. Small garden pots create Zen and tight space when they feel discovered rather than arranged. A ceramic pot shaped like a shallow wave holds creeping moss that seems to flow across its surface. This Japanese container garden captures movement without motion. Small garden pots like this embody Zen and tight space by suggesting rivers, hills, and forests within just a few inches of soil. On a bookshelf, a small bonsai in a rectangular pot becomes a point of stillness among the books. This Japanese container garden offers a living pause between pages. Small garden pots bring Zen and tight space indoors, where a single plant can balance the weight of countless words. A rooftop ledge holds a series of small garden pots arranged in a gentle curve. Each pot is a chapter in a story, a pine, a stone, a clump of moss. This Japanese container garden reads like poetry. When viewed from above, Zen in tight space is storytelling through arrangement. In a shaded corner, a deep stone pot holds a miniature hosta. Its broad leaves gather droplets after rain. This Japanese container garden thrives quietly, asking for little, but giving much. Small garden pots embody Zen in tight space when they invite you to pause and simply look. A courtyard wall features a built-in niche, holding a single round pot. Inside, a moss mound rises like a green hill. This Japanese container garden turns architecture into landscape. Small garden pots placed this way bring Zen in tight space by merging built and natural environments seamlessly. A shallow clay pan holds a bed of white gravel with 3 standing stones. This Japanese container garden echoes a full-size rock garden in miniature. Small garden pots like this capture the essence of Zen in tight space, reducing scale without losing meaning. On a sunny terrace, rectangular planters hold a wave of ornamental grasses. The wind turns them into liquid gold. This Japanese container garden turns movement into art. Small garden pots arranged like this create Zen in tight space through rhythm and repetition. At night, a lantern casts its glow over a row of ceramic pots. Each plant casts a delicate shadow on the wall. This Japanese container garden transforms completely after dark. Small garden pots invite Zen and tight space, not only in daylight, but in moonlight and lamplight, too. In a narrow hallway, a single pot on a low stand holds a sculptural branch. This Japanese container garden uses negative space, like a painter uses blank canvas. Small garden pots create Zen and tight space when they allow emptiness to be part of the design. Beside a garden bench, a broad basin holds a layer of sand, raked into ripples. This Japanese container garden changes with each stroke of the rake. Small garden pots invite interaction, making Zen and tight space a living, evolving experience. A line of tiny pots runs along the edge of a desk, each with a different plant: moss, pine seedling, miniature fern. This Japanese container garden is a living companion to your work. Small garden pots bring Zen and tight space into the busiest moments, reminding you to breathe. Thank you for walking with me through this world of Japanese container gardens, where beauty thrives in small garden pots and serenity lives in every corner. Zen and tight space is a reminder that peace is never far. It can fit in your hands, rest on your table, or greet you at your door. If this journey inspired you, please subscribe, like, and share so we can continue exploring beauty together.